What do you do when you let Paul Feig create an R-rated comedy spy movie, complete with a lot of improvisation from the cast? Let him twist classic spy movie tropes while paying homage to the classic spy movies, add the humor of Melissa McCarthy, and an excellent cast, and let Jason Statham run wild. Well, that would be the 2015 movie Spy. Hi, this is Dan.
And Tom.
From Cracking the Code of Spy Movies. Join us as we decode this wonderful twist on the spy movie genre and find out if this movie is a must-watch for you.
Okay, Dan, usually we open these decoding sessions with me asking if a movie is a spy movie. The movie's titled Spy. I don't think we have to ask that question here.
I think we're good there. Okay, let's start with the basics. Spy was directed by Paul Feig, who was fresh off Bridesmaids and The Heat. It stars Melissa McCarthy as Susan Cooper, a CIA analyst who's thrust into field work after her partner is presumed dead.
You know, I didn't go see this movie in the theater when it came out, and I'm really mad I didn't, because there's some explosions and stuff that would have been good on the big screen. I wasn't a big Melissa McCarthy fan until I saw this movie. I mean, I was at Half Price Books, and I was just going through, and I said, oh, there's a spy movie, and I grabbed it, and I put it in. I'm like, oh, we got to do this one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a Melissa McCarthy fan either, not because I don't like her. I haven't really seen her in much, movies or TV. I know she was in Bridesmaid, Life of a Party, and popular TV shows like Mike and Molly, that was a big hit, and Gilmore Girls. But this movie was different. I have to say that she was just phenomenal in this movie. Funny, great delivery of her lines, facial expressions, body movements, everything. She was nonstop perfect. So, right off the bat, I like the movie, literally, from the jump.
I'm with you there.
I will also say that, an inside analyst is now thrown into the covert spy field operations. We've seen some of this before, of course, but Spy really gives big roles to women on the good side and the bad side, and they're all terrific. We'll talk a little bit more about this when we drill into the cast, but they're good.
They are.
Okay, let's start with the basics. Spy was directed by Paul Feig, who was fresh off Bridesmaids and The Heat.
Now, I think the fact that McCarthy was playing a serious character who had lots of humor and not the other way around makes this movie work, because she, like the other cast members, improvised many of their lines. So while much of her action in the movie was serious, McCarthy still got to deliver a lot of her humor in her character, and it came out very, very well.
She unloads her own dictionary or thesaurus of insults towards villains and at Peter Serafinowicz's character, Aldo. And many of these were improvised, like you said, and kept in the movie. I mean, this is brilliant stuff. We'll talk about this.
I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of her having a tirade against me with some of the stuff she was coming up with.
Her role is a classic kind of fish out of water setup. But what makes it work is how Feig uses these genre tropes to both honor and mock the spy formula, which he does throughout the whole movie. I like that. Okay, that was good. All right, the use of color is interesting too. Susan's disguises are garish, clashing with the sleek spy aesthetic that we know, until she starts blending in.
Yeah, it is neat how they do that. And it doesn't do it in a mocking way the way Austin Powers did. Right? A lot of this humor, the use of the color, the play on the tropes is spoofed in Austin Powers. And it works well there. I'm not saying that as a criticism. It's just different. Here in Spy, the mocking is added to what could be considered a fairly classic spy movie. The story works without the comedy, but the comedy just takes it to a whole new level.
Well, the story's okay. I mean, I like the story, but I really like the comedy. I really like the comedy.
Well, you need both for this, the way it's done, but the story on its own could work.
The classic spy movie part of this, I'm good with that. Feig relies heavily on the classic tropes of spy movies throughout this movie. He uses familiar beats, betrayal, surveillance, exotic locales, but he flips the power dynamics, which is refreshing. Instead of a suave male lead saving the day, we get a woman who's been overlooked, underestimated, and finally unleashed. I like it.
No, absolutely. And it's not just feminist, it's human.
Oh
I mean,
yeah, right. Not
Susan's journey is about reclaiming agency, not just kicking ass like she does.
yeah. Well,
It's also a commentary on how spy movies often ignore the people behind the scenes, the analysts, the techies, the support staff. They're
yeah, yeah,
there, but they can contribute.
yeah. This is great. And for instance, we get a solid pre-title sequence. Jude Law is the tuxedo wearing, good looking agent named Bradley Fine.
He's so
And
fine.
yeah, and Jude Law does many of his stunts. And especially during the opening sequence, fight scenes. I mean, pretty darn good. And he's a kickboxer, so that helped him do this. He's at a black tie cocktail party and shows his taste in the finer things with his first line. He finishes a glass of champagne, looks at the glass, and says, Baccarat, exquisite. It feels like Lazenby's Bond kind of saying Royal Beluga north of the Caspian. But then Fine throws the glass on the marble floor, shattering it at the feet of three ladies. So maybe he's not quite James Bond, but
Yeah, the looks on their faces when that
yeah,
glass
like,
comes shattering. He's like,
what?
what?
And the action in the pre-title feels kind of classic Bondish. It sets up the story and gives us the MacGuffin that we need, and then the humor comes out, starting with a sneeze. we then see that Bradley Fine has a woman in a support center who has excellent technology at her disposal to support him. This is Melissa McCarthy playing Susan Cooper. She talks with him and guides him through a tricky situation, all from this support room. As always, the communication technology is flawless, like Mission Impossible and all those other movies.
Always. They could see through
Always.
walls. They could see everything. Real time.
See everything, hear everything. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Well, and
Ah,
part of that is because at this moment, Susan Cooper kind of feels like a Benji or a Luther from the Mission Impossible series. Or
yeah,
really, name any spy movie where you've got some support person looking at the screens telling somebody where to go,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. We've seen it before.
She's also kind of crossbred with Moneypenny from the Bond series because she has this crush on Fine. And
Yeah, she
Moneypenny kind of
does.
had that crush on Bond. And so for me, this is opening up extremely well. It's just the opening scene. The movie just started, and I've already bought it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, they make it feel like it's going to be a James Bond like movie. And then after the pre-title, we get the opening credits, and these credits are a Bond homage again, complete with silhouettes, slow motion bullets, and a sultry theme song. Again, kind of has a Bond movie feel to it, which
You
is
got the
going to grab you.
pre-title. You've got this great credit sequence that feels like a Bondian one. I'm liking this movie so far.
Yeah, and we're not going to go through all the details here of the plot and all that kind of stuff, but we will talk about the characters and the tropes we see and some of the relationships we see to other movies. At some point, the Susan Cooper, who trained as an agent but never went into the field before, has to take on a field role. This is set up as your fish out of water setup again, but it works as Cooper's competence increases as she goes along and is successful in her role as an agent. So you see this unfolding on the screen. Kind of cool.
Yeah, yeah. So is that confidence or competence or really kind of both? And I
Yeah.
love how they do this with her because Susan Cooper is the heart of this movie. If her character doesn't work, this movie doesn't work. And she starts out as this classic desk-bound analyst who's underestimated by everyone, including herself.
Right. Yeah.
And she doesn't look like your classic tuxedo or evening gown wearing movie spy. Instead, she
No.
wears a pastel cardigan. She doesn't have the appearance of a Gal Gadot in Red Notice or Jessica Chastain in the 355 or even Diana Rigg in the Avengers,
No.
right?
Yeah. All right. She has several unflattering disguises and covers she must use, like being a Midwestern cat lady or a frumpy tourist. And she's genuinely funny in these scenes. And many of these were off the cuff stuff she did. So that was pretty interesting.
Well, and I loved how when she would get these characters of here's her persona, she'd get
Yeah.
all upset. Why do I have to be that person?
Yeah. I don't like that name. I want a different name.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to be this.
So if you remember when we talked to Andrew Bustamante, he said it's not going to be all the glamour looking people. You want people that can look like they just fit into wherever they are.
Yeah. He was an ex CIA covert operative, Andrew
Yeah.
Bustamante.
So
Right.
he
Yeah.
kind of knows what he's talking about there, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I actually imagine more real world female agents look like Susan Cooper than those other actresses I just mentioned.
Yeah.
And the way
Well,
they,
that was her whole pitch as to
that
why
was
they
her
should
pitch.
select her.
Yep.
Right.
Now, after the way they set up her appearance, she grows into the role. At first, she's awkward as she's never been in the field, but then she gets her groove. There's a scene with her and Bradley Fine in this very nice restaurant. And to kind of like set her awkwardness or non-refinement, and there's these two white things on a plate, and the waiter pours hot water over them, and they expand, and they were
Yeah.
compressed hand towels. Now, Cooper thinks they're food because she doesn't go to a lot of fancy restaurants. And it's a funny scene that gets played on later in the movie. Right. So you actually see almost the same thing twice with different results.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, Paul Feig actually had this happen to him, which is why it's in the movie. He was in a restaurant. The waiter pours the water onto these things, and he puts one of them in his mouth. And it's pretty funny.
Yeah, yeah. And her reaction to it is the funniest. That she has to now play off the fact that, oh yeah, she knew it was a doll. She was like, she,
Well, yeah, I mean,
she was great, right? That scene alone is terrific. All right, her transformation isn't just physical; it's psychological too. She sheds this invisibility cloak that society gave her, and she becomes the hero that no one saw really coming, including herself. And McCarthy plays it with a nuance. She's not just funny, she's vulnerable at the same time. She's sharp, and increasingly, she's a badass.
oh yeah, she grows into that role.
Yeah. And as an example of this, at one point, she has a brutal fight with a knife wielding assassin in an alley. Her skills seem to come from nowhere, which kind of reminded me a little bit of the Jason Bourne in the Bourne Identity, where he finds he has skills he didn't know because of amnesia and all that. But in Cooper's case, she was trained and did well in her training. She just didn't have the confidence to take on this field agent role. So the skills were there. She just has to trust herself to use them. She doesn't have suave one liners, just instinct and improvisation and internal recall of her training, which she looked pretty darn good there.
Yeah, that training served her well. And I like the fact that for the most part, she had to use her skills and not gadgets. Yes,
Yeah.
there are gadgets in this movie.
Yes,
And
there
we
are.
talked about that there's tropes from the spy movie genre here. There's a lab that looks very similar to a Q lab with experiments going on in the background and stuff.
Yes, I
And
like that.
then in kind of a funny scene, Cooper gets some very low key gadgets designed to look like ordinary items because she's playing an ordinary person. Of course, she gets to use these gadgets, but the fight scenes, for the most part, were gadget free. And so
Mostly.
the gadgets were there. One in particular she needed, and it came through for her. And kind of like Q, they gave her exactly the right gadget for the moment, and
Yeah.
she had it to use it. Now, Melissa McCarthy, she did have a stunt double, but she did many of her own stunts as well, like the fight
Yeah.
choreography and the chase sequences. Both her and Jude Law were doing a lot of their own stunts. And she
Yeah.
surprised a lot of the people on the set.
Yeah. Now, when you talk about the gadgets, watch when she's getting her gadgets from the Q-like person from for her field work, and her facial and body reactions to the version of Q that we see here presenting her the gadgets is just tremendous. It's just because the names of the gadgets are funny,
Oh, and how they're
and
packaged too.
and how they're packaged. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like okay, here's how you got to do it. All right, so
Wait,
making the
where's
lead.
my cool thing?
Yeah. And she got one cool thing, and she gets all bubbly about that. And her, again, reaction was terrific. So, making the lead here in Melissa McCarthy a strong protagonist and very capable and certainly relatable to those around her in the movie and to those of us watching the movie, it worked really well.
Oh, I think so. All right, so I think we're pretty confident in saying Melissa McCarthy does a great job in this role. So let's move
Yeah.
on to the rest of the cast. Now, my favorite character was Rick Ford, who was played by Jason Statham. I mean,
Yes.
he hits this role out of the park. He's a very foul-mouthed parody of what you think of Jason Statham in a movie. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a parody of himself. And now this movie is rated R, and Statham's language is a key driver of that rating. Now, other people have some pretty foul language, but every other word out of his mouth seems to be one.
Yeah. Then there's one photo that is rather well. Yeah, that's another reason why it's hard. All right, Jason Statham really he's really nothing short of hilarious from the get-go. To me, he was my favorite character in this movie because he was so damn good at what he was doing. He's delivering these complex dialogue lines rapidly, and he does it so well. Your head just spins from laughing so much because he's so good at it. He's so deadpan at it. He's so believable saying it because he believes it himself. It's really great. So to appreciate it, truly, I had to go back a couple of times to replay some of his dialogue because it's so good. That's how good it is. So according to Feig, Statham improvised a lot and embellished many of his lines, which was encouraged by Paul Feig. He was cracking up the crew with increasingly absurd lines, and some of the lines in the movie are really absurd lines, and they do grow in absurdity. It's amazing. So they kept several of his funniest ad libs in the final cut. He really is a parody of his own tough guy persona and himself and the character all wrapped up in one. It's just perfect.
Well, and I think his known screen persona in most of his work is why it works so well, because it's like, wait, this is Jason.
They didn't even think they could get him for this movie. I remember the director saying that. I didn't think he was going to take this job.
Well, even in the end credits, they've got a couple outtakes that are pretty funny from him.
Yeah. But we'll talk about what the director really thought this role was going to be, though.
We'll get there. Right now, his role is absurd, and it works because he delivers it with such sincerity. He does this just straight up. I mean, what he's saying is insane, but he's doing it totally straight up. Yeah. I mean, and he's the embodiment of toxic spy masculinity. Like, oh, I got this and I do this and I went through this. I mean, so, it's really good. Now, one of his lines that I can repeat, because in this one, the language is surprisingly clean. He says,
"Nothing kills me. I'm immune to 179 different types of poison. I know because I ingested them all at once when I was deep undercover in an underground poison-ingesting crime ring." Wow.
That's just ridiculous, even hearing it now.
Yeah.
That's so perfect. We know the hard-hitting characters Statham normally plays, and this is just a great parody of everyone. I like this one set of dialogue talking about himself when he's bragging about himself. He is condescending to Susan Cooper, of course, because that's how he is. I got to clean up the language a little bit here, as I'll use some bleeps. And he's talking to Susan Cooper. And at one point he says,
"We have to stop the sale of a nuclear bomb. And they send in someone who looks like Santa Claus's fucking wife."
It's like Santa Claus bleeping wife.
Oh, and with the hair they've got on her, the wig they've got, it's great.
Yeah, right. And then he says,
"You really think you're ready for the field? I once used defibrillators on myself. I put shards of glass on my fucking eye. I've jumped from a high-rise building using only a raincoat as a parachute and broke both legs upon landing. And I still had to pretend I was in a fucking Cirque du Soleil show."
But then I love when he says this.
"This arm has been ripped off completely and reattached with this fucking arm."
I don't know that that's possible.
And I love her, Susan's reaction to that. I don't think that's possible medically.
When he says,
"During the threat of an assassination attempt, I appeared convincingly in front of Congress as Barack Obama."
And then she says something really funny there too, and with a great face. So that was another great moment in the movie. This is that interaction there. That whole interaction is great.
well, and it goes on through the whole movie.
Yeah. But that part is just stunning because it's one after another.
Yeah, it just goes. It's really good. Statham delivers this really well. McCarthy plays off of it really well. And Jason Statham played a great rogue agent here.
I gotta say one more thing that Jason Statham says here when he starts this whole tirade of stuff, and he starts it very, very slowly with,
"Well, I make a habit of doing things that people say I can't do. Walk through fire, water ski blindfolded, take up piano at a late age."
Take up piano at a late age.
Yeah, I couldn't take up piano now.
Like, oh my God, that's great stuff. All right. As a side note, Jason Statham's character was written originally straight.
You mean not funny?
Straight, not funny. Paul Feig originally envisioned Rick Ford as a deadly serious agent, but thanks to Statham's comic nature and self-parody, he improvised a lot of the stuff, like the brag lines we just mentioned, and Paul Feig just ran with it. And he redefined the character into one of the highlights, I think, of this movie. It's just terrific.
Oh, absolutely. Now,
Yeah.
earlier you mentioned that women have a key role in this movie, and it's more than just Susan Cooper. One of those characters is Raina Boyanova, who's played by Rose Byrne. And she's kind of a villain. She's icy. She's condescending, especially towards Susan Cooper. And she's over the top petty. Now, she's evil and funny, and her interplay and insults to Susan Cooper are just fantastic. The banter between these two actors is phenomenal. I mean, at one point, Raina says,
"The moment I saw you standing there in that abortion of a dress, it's as if to say, this is what I've got, world. It's hideous, but it's mine."
I mean, the delivery is good.
But there's a lot of this type of humor between these two that cement their relationship to the viewer. They are opposites, but there's some similarities between the two of them. And it comes out in this banter between them.
We got to talk about the next cast member, Miranda Hart, who plays
she's
Nancy.
Funny.
She plays Nancy B. Ardingstall. She is absolutely terrific in this role. She's one of Susan Cooper's co-workers. She's very funny. She's got a very foul mouth. And I thought Hart was just absolutely perfect for that role.
I'm with you there. She added a sense of humor. You normally would see it from a male character in a movie. Think of the role of Drew in Office Space, and that's going to get you close, although her role's much bigger than Drew was in that.
Yeah.
But she's got a lot more depth in this. There's a lot of humor. And if you look at the outtake, the gag reel on the extras on the DVD, she has a bit in there that even made me blush. And I don't blush as much.
Yeah, she was good. She has some good lines. Now, another character we want to highlight, Elaine Crocker. She's the CIA boss, played brilliantly by Allison Janney. And she consistently is unlikable, yet amusing. As usual, Janney delivers in this role.
Yeah,
now,
she always does. She always does.
There are a few other male roles to call out here as well. Peter Serafinowicz's portrayal of the character Aldo is phenomenal. He is just so good every time he's on the screen. You will laugh out loud. Aldo's an agent who helps Cooper out while hitting on her relentlessly. Like the others, he improvised much of his dialogue while he was hitting on Susan Cooper, and it became more and more outrageous and genuinely funnier and funnier. And McCarthy's reactions and comebacks, she also improvised a lot of that. So these two worked really well together, and their interaction is terrific.
Oh, it is. And the fact that they keep growing with this theme between the two of them, I could see some women being off-put by how he treats her, especially at the beginning. But you can see, once you can tell this is a gag between the two of them, it seems to work to me. Now, I also think that Aldo has a much bigger backstory than what we got in the final cut of the movie. And the reason I say that is at the end of the movie, he walks past these guys in uniform. I don't know if they're police or agent, what they are, but they snap to attention as he walks by. And they don't do that with anybody else. So I think there's more to him than we actually got to see. And it really, like you say, it's a hilarious role.
Yeah.
Now, another actor in this is one of my favorite actors of all time, and that's Bobby Cannavale. He plays Sergio De Luca, who is one of the villains. He shines in this role. He's a bad guy, and Cannavale does that character well, and he does it well here as well. So those are some of the actors we wanted to call out. What about the script?
Yeah, the director, Paul Feig, has said he shoots the scripted versions first. Now, Paul wrote this too. Feig wrote this. He didn't just direct it. He wrote it.
Right.
So he was writing this, like you said, he changed Statham's character. So he shoots the scripted version first. This is one of his techniques. And then he encourages actors to go crazy with alternate takes. And so many of the funniest one-liners and exchanges in this movie, especially between McCarthy, Statham, and Serafinowicz, that came from these unscripted riffs. I mean, it's just terrific. So the script and dialogue is very well written for this movie, and Feig's methodology of doing a second take, letting the actors roll with it, really added to the overall effectiveness and the humor of the actions and the dialogue and everything. It's just spectacular.
It seemed to work.
It's hard to do. It would be hard to do, I think, but really, it's just so well done. And he does this while giving homage, paying tribute, spoofing, or whatever many spy movie tropes from James Bond, Bourne, even some of the classic spy movies, while also being a parody of the entire spy genre. So from tuxedos, fancy parties, gadgets, exotic locations, speeding cars, casinos, accidental death, great villains, mishaps, double agents, internal analysts heading out on covert operations, it's all there.
Don't forget the enemy spies who can't hit a CIA agent with 100 bullets.
You gotta love that.
They keep missing. Or there's a nuclear device that's a MacGuffin, the daughter of a now dead evil father. Think of Madeline Swan or Electra King in the Bond series. Rick Ford's disguises, moles, a traitor. I mean, there's even a quick shot of an Aston Martin and another one where a small car drives up and down stairs, which we've seen in many spy movies. He's touching them all in this one.
Yeah, it's all here, which adds, I think, to the quality of this movie. This homage or whatever augments the movie, it doesn't become the movie like in Austin Powers. Both the Austin Powers way and this way work, I think. They both work, but I actually like this way better.
Okay, so let's shift gears to the homage and certain tropes and gags that we see here. We get the death of one of the leading actors about 30 minutes into the movie. A big name star dies. As we recently discussed in our episode on the movie Avalanche Express, this normally means one of two things. One, the character's dead, or the person isn't really dead and we'll see them again later. The key is you see the person die and you don't know which one it is as the viewer. Yeah. And so it keeps the audience guessing. And they do that here in this movie as well.
I like that they did keep us guessing on a few instances in what was really happening and who you could trust, which is part of every spy movie, but they did that well here, I think, all along. Now, another call out has to do with the use of rats in the CIA center. Most of this movie was filmed in Hungary, and there's a scene in the CIA basement where there are rats. Now, this is where Melissa McCarthy works as Susan Cooper in the basement of the CIA center. Well, so they're working in this basement where there are rats, and there's jokes about the rat poop, and someone's eating cake and whatever. And Susan Cooper freaks out about the rats. This wasn't just a gag, because the Budapest location really had a rat problem. And Paul Feig decided to turn it into a running gag here. So a Budapest power plant was used for some of these CIA headquarters scenes, but they were really rats. They had a rat problem, but he turned it into something funny.
I'm glad you explained that to me because I thought it was a call out to the scene in From Russia with Love with the rats in the cistern, but I actually like this explanation better. Now, Paul Feig said in the director's commentary that there's that big house or mansion that the movie opens with where the party is, where we see Jude Law's character throw that champagne glass.
Yeah.
That was in Hungary, and that house used to be one of Fidel Castro's houses. And also tying back to something we talked about with Steve Begg in our episode with him about visual effects, the roof on the top of that house in Hungary was in disarray. And so they digitally added that roof that you see. And there's no way you know that was digitally altered. Yeah, it's kind of cool how they can do that.
Yeah. There's another scene where there's a spectacular fight in the kitchen. Now, we've seen this in other spy movies, in The Living Daylights, but in this one, Melissa McCarthy and a stunt woman, Nargis Fakhri, who plays the assassin Leah, they trained for weeks to make the knife fight look both brutal and comedic.
It really did both, didn't it?
Yeah. There's so many thrusts with knives, defense with pots and pans and cleavers. It's a complicated scene, and the writer Feig, he wanted it to feel like a genuine Bourne-style fight, but here with unexpected laughs. And so it's so well done in Spy here that you're not surprised this took a few weeks to go train for it. One of the best action scenes in the movie, really, with comedy seeping through it all. It's just well done.
Yeah, and I like the Living Daylights reference, but to me, this was more of a Bourne-style fight. And
Yeah,
if that's what Feig was going for, it absolutely
very
hit.
quick, boom, boom, boom. Yeah, it was great.
All right, as we get to the end here, I wanted to talk about the box office of this thing. It earned $235 million at the box office. Budget was only $65 million, and it had a 94% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. So my only question is with that, why haven't we seen Spy 2? I mean, it's been 10 years since this movie came out. How is there not a sequel with the success this thing was?
And they set us up for a Spy 2 in the movie.
Yeah, they really do. Well, I read an old article on Collider.com about that exact question. And supposedly Spy 2's been partially written, but can't find a studio or producer to do it. And I really wish they would. It's listed in the upcoming projects on Paul Feig's IMDb, but that doesn't necessarily mean much.
No.
In that Collider.com article, Paul Feig is quoted as saying about the old 20th Century Fox, they're on the third Kingsman movie. I love the Kingsman movies, but that's the same studio. They made more money than we did, but we didn't not make money. We made pretty good money. We made $235 million worldwide, and that was pretty good on a $65 million budget. You always wish it was higher, but yeah, they just didn't want to do it, and now the moment may be past.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'm really proud of it. End of quote. And the article goes on to talk about the studio's lack of desire to make studio comedies, as they've had a sketchy success rate. But we know this one would work because the first one did. So I just don't get it.
Yeah, I don't either. You think they would have? Now it might be too late.
It might be too late. All right, Dan, we've been going on for a while about this great movie Spy. So let's wrap this up. What did you think of the movie?
All right, I must say this is a spy comedy and one of the best that we've ever reviewed. The casting is well done. I was literally laughing out loud many times from the well choreographed action sequences, the top-rated dialogue from clever writing and improv, and the exchange among the characters. All great. All of this, craftily balanced, makes this a very fun and watchable spy movie and gives strength and power to this movie. It's about 120 minutes, but flows so quickly it doesn't feel like a 2-hour movie. They actually released a 130-minute Blu-ray version that included extra shots and alternative scenes that were not in the original 120-minute version. So I tip of the hat to Paul Feig, who both wrote and directed this movie, and the great cast who performed flawlessly. I loved it. What about you, Tom?
Well, this was a very, very pleasant surprise. As I said, I didn't think I was going to like it at first.
Yeah.
Spy has taken a different tack than most comedy spy movies, as it's a real spy movie that they injected a bunch of humor into it, not a comedy with a spy movie story inserted into it. I thought the cast was phenomenal, especially Melissa McCarthy, Miranda Hart, and Jason Statham. The stunts worked, and to me, this sits alongside the Austin Powers series as one of my favorite spy movies of all time, or I should say comedic spy movies. You think about number one of the Secret Service, you think about Spies Like Me, and some of the other ones that we've talked about. This is head over heels above those comedy spy movies.
There you go. All right, that's a wrap of our decoding session of the 2015 spy comedy named Spy. If you're a spy movie fan and haven't watched it, we strongly recommend you do. All right, this has been Dan.
And Tom.
And our show, Cracking the Code, is Spy Movies. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment on this episode. That helps us a lot. Thanks for listening. We appreciate it.